Hey, and welcome to the second episode of the Headliner Podcast. My name's Nick, and I'm Headliner's in-house video editor and designated podcast host. We've had a busy week here at the Headliner office. Like, literally. We actually moved offices a couple of days ago. It was a long, strenuous move to the office next to our previous one, and when all was said and done, we probably had only traveled like 20 feet, honestly. That said, we've got some really cool stuff to go over this week, so let's jump into it. But first, a bit about what Headliner is for those of you who are new to us. We're a video editor that you can access from your web browser that allows you to make cool social clips for your podcast that you can share on social media. The general idea behind creating videos on Headliner is that you're giving people on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram an easy way to listen to a bit of your show. It's a way to get them to hopefully check out the full series, and it's kinda similar to how musicians release singles or one-off songs in order to promote an upcoming or just released album. So a podcaster with Headliner is a bit like Post Malone or The Supremes, only with podcasting. Kinda. Feel free to check out headliner.app to start making videos today. You can create an account for free, and it's super easy to use. So on every episode of this podcast, I'm going to be letting you know what we here at Headliner have been up to. I'm also going to tell you a bit about a feature we've just added or think you should take a look at, and I'm going to share a best practice or two to help you create the best social videos possible. And on this episode, we'll hear a bit from Bailey and Oliver from the Headliner team, as well as J. Rodney Turner, a voice actor who hosts the audiobook narration for beginners podcast. Actually, let's lead with that. Yeah, that sounds good. J. Rodney Turner's podcast, which we just featured in our latest Headliner highlight over on headliner.app/blog, revolves around him sharing tips and tricks for budding voice actors who want to have their voices be heard in the audiobook community. This excerpt you're about to hear comes straight after he shared that he uses Headliner to promote his show and how he feels like it allows him to focus on the content he's working on for his small but dedicated listenership. Take a listen.
Could I do more? Sure I could. But for now, I'm tracking the podcast, and while the audience is currently fairly small, the feedback from that small audience is universally positive. I know that my audience is a small niche group, but the information is valuable to them, and anecdotal information obtained from working pros is that the information can also be valuable to narrators who may be more experienced and may simply need a refresher on areas of interest that assist in building a thriving career in audiobook narration.
I actually think what he had to say is really valuable to podcasters, especially when they're just starting out. It's important to remember that one of the best things you can do to grow your show stems from putting out some really great content out there to begin with. In the case of this podcast, focusing on the episodes first and foremost means giving the most information possible to people looking to become audiobook narrators, who will then return to future episodes to continue learning. Putting your podcast content first is a bit of a no-brainer, and J. Rodney Turner seems to know this. Headliner videos are just icing on the cake for him. Headliner Highlights is a series we do where we hear from podcasters to learn a bit about their show, how they promote it, and how Headliner fits into that equation. So if you're curious to hear more about this podcast, feel free to check out the full highlight over on our blog. We post new ones every week, and we're going to be sharing a bit from each one of them on episodes of this podcast. Also, if you'd like to submit some audio to be featured in a future highlight, be sure to reach out to info@headliner.app. We'd love to hear a bit about your show and potentially feature it on a future highlight. But now let's say you've got a great podcast on your hands and you want to share it with people, but you're just a bit too strapped for time to make a couple videos to share on social media. Well, then we've got a tool that's just perfect for you. We call it Autogram, and basically it's a tool that creates videos for your podcast whenever you upload a new episode. You might have seen it on Headliner lately, and it's something that we're really excited to be working on. Right now, you've only been able to access it from the projects page, but we've actually just rolled out a way to sign up for it from your cell phone. Here's one of our co-founders, Oliver, with the scoop on what's going on there.
Nick, I know we sit apart now. We used to sit right next to each other, but now you're 2 seats over. So I know it was a lot to get the schedule together to bring me on the podcast, but I appreciate it. Thank you for making the travel arrangements and getting me on here. All right, so this week in automation, we have some pretty exciting stuff. You can now use automation from your mobile device. You can log in right from your phone on mobile web, go in there, set up some automation workflows, and start getting videos. No more need to go on the desktop. You can do it under your desk at work. You can do it in the shower. You can do it while you're running around the park. Wherever you are, you can now make automatic podcast videos. Woohoo! We also have put in the ability to create all types of workflows. So you can make videos anywhere from 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, or 60 seconds, as well as full episode videos. Get those automations set up and get them automatically sent to you. You'll also be able to choose from the different aspect ratios, templates, and all that jazz. So check it out. Have some fun. And again, Nick, thank you so much for allowing me to take over this small section of the podcast.
Automation's great because it saves a bunch of time by taking the creation process out of making videos for your podcast. All you have to do is sign your show up and get the videos sent to you via email. Even if you're only using your automated videos for one of your 2 or 3 social posts every week, that's still one video that you didn't have to create yourself, which is a huge amount of time that you're saving. You could use that time to do another pass on editing your episode, doing some research for a future episode, or flying a kite or something. Okay, so how about we take a second to explore a helpful trick worth keeping in your back pocket for when you're editing in Headliner. Let's say you've created a video using one of our wizards and you've just gotten to the timeline to review and export your clip. Everything's going great, the video has a great snippet from your show on it, and, well, there's just one problem. You don't like the artwork that you picked out for it. Maybe your podcast art doesn't have room for the waveform, or maybe you created an image on Canva or Photoshop to use for your clip instead. Either way, you want to swap out the artwork and you don't feel like restarting your entire project. That's totally understandable, and we've got you covered. Headliner allows you to replace media on the timeline, and all it takes to do this is a simple click on your media on the lower half of the screen. That'll open a window where you can click a replace button and then swap out your art for something else. Crisis averted. So on this week's podcast, I thought we'd also do something a little bit different. I sat down with Bailey from our marketing team and started talking to her about some of the things she's been up to lately. I thought it was actually pretty interesting and that you guys might actually get a kick out of hearing a bit of it. So let's take a listen to that. Yeah, so we've been talking about like what everyone in the office has been up to lately, and you felt like sharing a bit about something.
No, I was forced to do this. I didn't want to be here at all.
Yeah, that is true. I did force you into doing this.
And I feel like this is going to be funny because you can cut this out. I have no room for the edit in this.
I could like take bits of different sentences and turn it into you saying that you wanted to do this all along.
Yeah, so what have I been up to lately? I don't know. Yeah, so last month I ran 100 miles. It was hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's running 100 miles. It's not like going down the street. I mean, it is, but like several thousand times probably.
Yeah, it was. I think for context, I'm not a runner. I don't really work out. I've never really worked out. I'm predispositioned to be able, like I'm just a smaller person, but I've averaged 13 miles per month for all of 2019. And then before 2019, I'd say 2017 to 2019, I probably averaged 5 miles per month. So not a runner. Like, and even then, even still, like my mile times when I was running, when I went and looked back, like I was doing 2 miles in like 30 minutes, like freaking walking.
Yeah, that's basically walking.
It was basically walking.
Yeah.
So on the last day of August, I was sitting in my room and I was just like, I want to run 100 miles next month. And so I did. It was,
what an interesting progression of thoughts.
Well, everyone's always like, well, why are you doing this? Like, what's the point? And I'm like, I don't know. I just like doing things that I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to run 100 miles. So I just ran 100 miles.
I mean, yeah, if you have the time for it, why not? Right.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, you have the time for it. You just have to make the time for it in a way. Like, I still work, obviously, here. I'm at the office till, like, 8:30, 9. Mm-hmm. And then, you got to eat, and it's, like, whatever, and you just make the time for it. But, yeah, it was hard. It happened. But But like kind of like on the whole time thing, what you're saying is Oliver just said how people can sign up for automation, and like what are all of our listeners going to do with all the time they save?
Oh yeah, that's true. Hypothetically, they'd be getting like an additional maybe like 30 minutes to an hour every week.
Or day,
depending on what they're doing. Yeah, that's true. Wow.
Well, so okay, this could be interesting. I like challenges here, obviously.
Clearly, you decided to run 100 miles in a month.
Yeah, and the month before, I wanted to climb 3 times a week, which is like a stretch goal. Like 100 was a stretch, and like all these things are a stretch. So what if we have our listeners tell me something to do, and then I come back and report?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would you do, or what are you going to do with all the time you save from not creating videos? Or like, if you had more time, is there a hobby you'd pick up, learn to cook? What else do people do if they have more time?
Paint, draw.
Yeah.
Spend time with their loved ones. I've heard that's pleasant.
Don't suggest that one.
Okay.
No, I love my loved ones. But yeah, let us know what you'll do when you save time. If you had more time, what would you do? And maybe, just maybe, I'll do them.
Oh, that'd be cool. Have like a running tally of the things you had to try out because of people.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. How do you want them to reach out about that? Like send that over?
Email me at bailey.drake@headliner.app.
Mm-hmm.
Or Nicholas. You're Nicholas?
It's just nicholas@headliner.app.
And just say, make Bailey do things.
That's a good subject line.
Subject line, make Bailey do things.
Yeah, that's not like an alarming thing to just like open your inbox and see.
Yeah, and then let us know. Keep it PG.
Yeah, please.
I just had like a flash of my inbox.
We're all adults here.
Yeah. No, that could be fun. But yeah, so that's what I've been doing. I've been working and running, and my body really hurts. So if you do suggest something, like something that's more relaxing, like, 30 days of going to the spa, feel free to...
That's awful.
That's
That's really...
Yeah, 20 massages in a month.
Yeah.
I think we're onto something.
I guess like the challenge would be like paying for that every day for a month.
Well, no, that would be a business expense.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true.
That would never happen. I'd be like, Oliver, Oliver's are one of our co-founders. Oliver, the people want me to get a massage every month or every day of the month. I don't think that's healthy for you, but also neither was running.
Yeah, I think that's the law of diminishing returns on both of those.
I really just want something that, like, I destroyed my body running, I feel like, and I want something that, like, makes some chaos in my life. So feel free to suggest that. I've already done 30 days of drinking, so that one's out.
Wow. I think that was just called college or something.
That was called July.
Okay. Yeah, that does sound...
month.
The birthday month, that's right.
Me and Nicholas have the same birthday. Happy birthday to us.
Happy belated to both of us.
I feel like there's rambling going on, which is also great, but now he has to cut all this out. Or not. How do you like our new podcast format?
The unedited version, yeah.
So tune in next week to figure out what I'm going to do.
Yeah. I guess, like, hypothetically to find out what you're doing and how it's going.
Or, like, let us know if this would be an interesting segment that you would want to hear, like, updates on me doing something. Either business by the way, I'm Bailey. I do marketing at Headliner. And other things.
Yeah.
I ate the snacks. So if you ever want to know, like, if you want something that's like a personal type of goal related or business marketing startup-y related, we can have weekly check-ins.
Sounds good. All right, cool.
Does it sound good?
Yeah, it sounds great.
In your ears?
It will after I mix it.
Yeah, after I delete all that.
Yeah. After I turn this, like, 8-minute bit into like 30 seconds. So in our last episode, I asked you guys to send over a couple of the videos you make to promote your podcast, and I told you guys that if I found one that I really liked, I'd run it on the show and talk about it for a bit. Well, I actually saw a really cool one last week, and I couldn't help but want to share it with you guys. This week's podcast video clip comes from the Wealth Talk podcast, which is a show dedicated to helping its listeners create, build, and protect their wealth by focusing on growing assets through education, support, and connections. The thing that I really liked about this video was the fact that it used a custom image and used transcription in a really unique way. Basically, the creator of this video used different colored text in order to create a dynamic and bold transcription that kept me engaged for its entire runtime. Now, the importance of using different colored text in your videos can't be stressed enough because, as is the nature with social media, people are only kind of paying attention to content on it at any given moment. But having color deviation there keeps your focus on the clip because it's telling your brain that the differently colored words are important and worth being emphasized. Basically, it's kind of like giving your audience a SparkNotes version of your content from within that content itself. This is something I always recommend to people who make videos on Headliner, so to see it out there in the wild was pretty awesome, and I'd kind of be lying if I didn't say it at least made my day a little bit. Oh, and the content of the clip itself was also really interesting. Anyway, here's this clip from Wealth Talk. And if you're curious about the video itself, you can check it out on our blog, headliner.app/blog.
There are brands that have been around for decades going out of business left, right, and center. So you really have to understand and know what you're doing. And you have to buy commercial property that, number one, you're buying value. Number two, you're adding value. And number three, it's got to have moats around it, protective moats that, ward off the big cat out there. And the big cat is the next correction, the Amazon of things, and technology, because that's changing our human spending patterns.
If you'd like to have your audiogram played on the show, remember to tag @HeadlinerVideo the next time you post a video. If selected, we'll be sure to reach out to you to get everything we need to run your audio on the podcast, as well as feature it on the corresponding blog post for the show. And just a reminder, everything we talked about today is going to be available for you guys to skim and dissect over on our blog, headliner.app/blog. On top of that, feel free to shoot me an email at nicholas@headliner.app if you have anything you want me to cover on a future episode, or you have a headliner or podcasting related question that you're dying to have me take a crack at answering. But I've also got a question for you guys listening right now that I'd love to hear an answer to. On average, how long are the clips you guys are posting for your podcast, and what made you decide on that length? I'd love to hear a bit about that, and I urge you guys to send your responses to me at nicholas@headliner.app. And with that, I think we've reached a stopping point for this week's Headliner podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it and that there was something here that was of value to you.